day.
It's our pleasure to welcome now Marie Sanderson, former policy director, Republican Governors Association, and a GOP strategist. Marie, great to see you. How you doing today?
Great to see you as well. Well, I'm down here in cold Ocean Springs, but in navigating the snow, which you won't hear again for another 100 years, but otherwise I'm doing well.
Man, how about that? When you look at the temperature of the Mississippi Gulf Coast and compare that to Anchorage, Alaska, and it's colder. On the former, it's like, what's going on here? It's like in the inverse.
It's hilarious.
Man.
I've never seen anything like it. The snow actually hits the Gulf of America, if you will.
There you go, the Gulf of America. So it's been an active couple of days after the swearing in of the 47th president, Donald Trump. A lot going on. And, you know, the first thing that struck me, Marie, and I'll ask you to respond on this, is he's more visible right off the bat. He is relating more to the media. I said earlier, I think he answered more questions yesterday than his predecessor did in his 4 years. So these are welcome sights. The American people need to see and hear from their president.
I agree. He is accessible. He is sharing with the American people his thoughts. He's candid. He signed a bunch of executive orders and did that in front of the American people. And in some ways, depending on which network you were watching, you could hear his commentary on why he did it. And I think that's really refreshing after not having access to our president or vice president for the last 4 years.
It exposes it even more, does it not, Marie, when you see this instant contrast in such a short, compressed period of time? Like, where's Joe over the last the last 4 years, but I think even more pronounced over the last few months. He's just been kind of relegated to the back somewhat. And now we've got one that's just out there in front day and night.
That's true. The White House press corps, you can tell they're just appreciating this new access. The president made himself available via social media and outside influencers, podcasts during the campaign. And now traditional media is having to level up and increase their coverage of him. And to his credit, he's given them an opportunity to do that by making himself accessible. I think that's a direct contrast to what we've had the last 4 years.
Well, and the other thing from a media perspective, because of the accessibility, because of the engagement, the media can actually use his words, his sound bites, his statements and their analysis rather than guessing what the prior guy was doing.
There is no gray here. You know where President Trump stands. He's an excellent communicator, and he's doing it his way right now. Certainly, he won't be able to offer the same access through the entire 4 years. He's going to have to get to work, and he'll have a press secretary that handles that moving forward. But even that person will be more accessible than what we've had in the past. I think this is fantastic for the American people to have direct line of sight into our president and what he's doing.
Marie, we've heard House and Senate leadership repeatedly communicate that their goal is to support the president's agenda. They get it, that he was elected to implement and execute that agenda. They've said that. But as a strategist, as one that understands better than most how the sausage is made, this is a bit of a difficult setup. I mean, yes, the Republicans have control, I guess you could call it that, of both chambers. This is not only a tough deal. I can't remember the last time we had a bigger margin in the Senate than we do the House.
It is very tight, and Speaker Johnson has to negotiate a bill that will get Republican support and in some cases Democrat support. It's very hard for people who practice partisan politics because it is a deal, and in many cases there has to be something in that legislation for all of these members of Congress to go home and say they voted for the bill for a certain reason. There's also really tough things. I heard you talking about tax reform earlier in the earlier segment. There's the debt ceiling. There is needed aid for California and other places in the country like North Carolina. And so you've got these must-pass bills and these other challenges that have to be analyzed and handled by this Congress with very small margins.
Yeah, it's really difficult as it is, and the Speaker, Representative Steve Scalise, they're all counting the votes right now. They got to be talking to their members about where they stand on this perhaps one big beautiful bill, as the president has called for. But you also know that the American people want to see. They want to see prices come down. They want to see the border closed. And they want to see energy in the American energy industry unleashed to do its thing. And that requires policy changes. The president's somewhat limited. That's the way our system works with executive orders. He's done that. But he can do virtually nothing with respect to tax policy. And I just feel like that's the elephant in the room that I'd like to see get more traction and attention.
You're exactly right. The president, to his credit, and his team, Stephen Miller, who's his top policy aide, they did a lot via executive order, and they're not done. We're going to see more executive orders come out of this White House to get as much policy, promises made, promises kept done through the power of the president. But again, that has its limits. And you're exactly right. Tax reform and then spending, the way Congress spends money, it all has to be done by members of Congress. And these are going to be tough decisions ahead. I am heartened to see that the committees have been working. They've put out a number of memos, some which have been leaked on accident, with places where they will find savings because a lot of these spending programs, a lot of tax cuts also cost money, and they have to find a way to balance the budget. At least that's what our party hopes they'll do.
Yeah, and we've already learned that a lot of the spending is on programs that are technically expired on the books. I can't even understand how that happens exactly. We'd never do that in business. You had a contract with a third party, and if the contract expired or terminated, you wouldn't keep paying them.
That's exactly right. And you know who else doesn't do that? States. And I know you spent a lot of time talking about Mississippi polity. Governors have to balance their budgets. They don't have the benefit of the federal government to keep borrowing. So, I've worked at the state and the federal level, and a lot of times, we tell the federal government, the appropriators, the governors find a way to do this. You need to find a way to do this as well and balance our budget.
It's 2 months away, Marie, and we got to go back to the drawing board to fund the government. 2 months. We're 2 months in a week. We're going to do this all over again.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of work to do. So in some ways, I'm glad the fanfare is over. Everybody had a nice time. I know they were freezing. I know you were there. But now it's really time to get to work. So, I think you're going to see a lot of activity come out of Congress. You're going to see the president get involved and lean in and try and push these members of Congress to do the right thing. And this president has a bully pulpit and a microphone bigger than anyone I've ever seen. So for those members that support him and take tough votes, he'll be there in their corner to support them in their reelect and beyond.
Marie, comment on this. The Democrats, where are they? They seem just floating in the ocean without any direction, without any guidance. What do they say? You're up the river without a paddle. It feels like that's where they are.
They're doing a lot of soul searching. That is for sure. Losing, we've talked on your show before, losing Hispanics, Latino voters, losing young adults, or rather that margin closing, I should say. It was really important for Republicans. The president has found a way to speak to the American people, the working people, and he has policies that they support. I think these woke policies, as we like to call them, DEI, some of these initiatives, the president has really hit a nerve with the American people, and Democrats are going to have to get back to basics. What is it that the American people want from them? They also are having infighting at the top. When you have infighting between the Bidens and the Pelosi and the Obamas, that's obviously not good for morale. That's been widely reported. And so I think you're going to see them do a lot of soul searching, but we can't take our foot off the gas here. They will regroup. They always do. And we have to move forward quickly on what we want to accomplish before we lose some of our momentum.
Man, I hope so. And this is why I speak so strongly in favor of acting as quickly on this tax package, and getting that extended or made permanent would even be better, because we got to prove in the midterms, look, the policies work, look how great the economy is. I'm afraid if we wait, we're not going to get the full benefit of that. Marie, always good talking to you. Appreciate you joining us today. Thanks a lot. Marie Sanderson, GOP Strategist. Thanks, Marie.
Thank you.
See you later. We're coming right back in the Element Wealth.